Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of my Old Ladies Know Stuff podcast, Life Lessons with Rhonda Stoppe and friends. And today I have a special friend that I met at MomCon when I was one of the speakers at MomCon in San Diego. It's been a few years back now, I think. And I'll bring her on and we'll tell the story. It's kind of fun how our hearts got connected. But I want you to know that Sherry is here and she is going to share with us some incredible insights and just some joyful story from her book, her children's book, Lexi the Butterfly. Sherry Crandall is the Vice President of Global Ministries and Leadership Experience for the MomCo. If you don't know, it used to be called MOPS, had to think for a minute. It used to be called MOPS, and now they've changed the name to the MomCo. She's also an author and speaker for women's events across the country and internationally. Sherry believes that every woman has untapped potential and is passionate about helping them discover their unique calling and purpose. Her first published children's book is Lexi the Butterfly. This story was inspired by her own adoption experience when she and her husband adopted their daughter from China. Sherry loves to garden, read historical fiction, play a little golf, and most of all, hang out with her family and friends. Even better if it is a beautiful campground in the Rocky Mountains. Sherry has been married to her husband, Rusty, for 39 years, and they have 4 adult children. Sherry lives in the beautiful state of Colorado. Sherry, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. So you guys are in Colorado. You're in, is it Colorado Springs or?
No, we live in Highlands Ranch, which is a suburb of Denver.
Okay.
We just moved back. I've been living in Nashville, Tennessee, downtown in a high rise. So like city living for the past 5 years. We kept our house here and just returned because my husband retired. So now we're back in Colorado, which is great because that's where the MomCo headquarters are.
Right.
So I can head to work every day as he is now going golfing and all the things.
It's fun.
So it's very fun.
My husband just retired too. And I literally am like, it's still so fresh, so new. We don't even know what we're doing. It's like, and I was just telling you before you, when we talked before the show, we just finished cousin camp at our ranch and we had 16 cousins here for days and nights. And it was so much fun. And I got to tell you, precious kids, and most of them are very young. We had one 15-year-old that was our camp director, and she did great. But what I loved about spending that much time with these kids is their parents reap the benefit of the hard work they've poured into these kids to be respectful to Steve and I, to their cousins and their siblings, to honor one another, prefer one another over themselves. Doesn't mean they did it perfectly, but that's what their parents teach them. So spending that many days and nights with that many littles, when it's only Steve and I and our 15-year-old granddaughter running the show, it was physically tiring because, I mean, some of them are babies, so really like changing pull-ups and picking them up and all those things. But it was not emotionally exhausting because if you corrected them, they immediately would go back and ask forgiveness to their, whoever they might have had a little rub with. What a joy. And so moms that are listening, you give yourself this amazing gift that you don't even know you're giving yourself when you train your children to respond well to authority, to respect others, and to treat their siblings and their cousins or friends with kindness. And all the moms and dads got several days, their house to themselves. They went on dates. They did all the things. It was super fun.
Oh, I want to be you when I eventually have grandkids.
You know what? It's the best. So I did last year, I was the Master of Ceremonies for the Legacy Coalition Grandparenting Summit. It's an international event that takes place every year. Their 10-year anniversary edition is coming up next year, and it will take place in Dallas, I think is where we're going. And it was so much fun to just be 8,000 grandparents that I got to inspire and encourage and cheer them on. I've also been a speaker at that event. I always tell Steve and I used to speak at youth camps. Now we speak at grandma and grandpa camp, but I'll take it.
Well, that just is testament, honestly, to a life well lived. So congratulations that you endured from the kids like junior high camp to now grandparents camp. The impact that you have in all of those categories is just, it's beautiful. That's awesome.
it's been a fun ride. And now we're in the middle of like, what do we do? I got a new book coming out. It's called Moms of the Bible, life-changing lessons from the fearless, flawed, and faithful. It's through Harvest House Publishers, and it'll come out in March 2026. So I'm right now doing the final edits on that. I got it back one more time from my editor, and I'm cleaning it up. But that'll be what my next focus will be on, is promoting that, and you know how that goes. But in the meantime, I get to do wonderful podcast interviews with people like you. Oh. So when we met, tell the story if you can remember it, when we met at MomCon.
So from the main stage, our CEO, Mandy, she had this idea of connection, and she wanted people to know that even if you didn't know the person next to you, that they had value. And so she wanted you to hold hands. I think we even held hands, didn't we? We held hands.
Yeah, we did.
Hold hands and look that person in the eye. And you couldn't say any words. It was just listen to this music and just awkwardly stare at this person, to kind of just be like, I see you. Because how often do we walk around the world feeling like nobody sees us? So it was this beautiful exercise, but you and I were sitting next to each other. I had never seen you in my whole life. And the next thing I know, I'm holding your hand and I'm staring deeply into your eyes. But it was this really sweet moment. And you just had this expression like, I see you. Mm-hmm. I care. And I was like, and we're not talking.
Yeah.
I was just looking at each other, and I thought, I just think you're a really nice person. So then when we were finished, we could talk. And I was like, I don't know. I just think we could be friends. Like, it just was so sweet. And you did make me feel seen. And I know that's hard because if most of you weren't there, maybe some of you listening were in San Diego when this happened. But it was a beautiful moment. So we kind of exchanged like, oh, what are your family? And we have real similarities, and our kids liking to do the same things with music. And we both have been in ministry for a long time and do speaking and writing and all the stuff. So it was just a really fun connection. And so that's how I met Rhonda.
Yeah. And honestly, when I walked in there, because I didn't know anybody at MomCon, at least I didn't think I did. I speak at a lot of MOPS. And so a lot of the women that I spoke at their events have come in, would come up to me and say, hi, you came to our MOPS or whatever. Yeah. But when I walked in, I mean, how many women were in there? It was
thousands.
Thousands of women.
Yeah.
And I had walked in, it was already dark, and I was trying to find a seat. And I said, Lord, where do you want me to sit? I don't know where you want me to sit. And there was a seat right on the end aisle, and that's where I slipped in right next to you. And I feel like the Lord chose that seat for me so that our hearts could connect. Yeah. And honestly, we became social media friends, which I know everybody's like, either you love it or you hate it, but if you use it for good, it's wonderful. Yeah. And just watching you celebrate your son as his musician that he is. My son, Brandon, is a musician and has been a worship pastor. He is all the things and so there's that mom heart, when you're cheering your kids on. In fact, let me just say, if you get a chance, if you go to my YouTube channel, the first slide that comes up is a mom song that Brandon wrote for me for Mother's Day. And it's a slideshow of our family, and it makes me cry every time.
Yeah.
Take a minute to watch that. But I just found out as I was reading Lexi the Butterfly and you and I were chatting, we have another thing in common. We both have an adopted child. My oldest son.
I didn't know that.
No, my oldest son didn't come to my family until he was 15 years old. Oh. So Lexi, let's talk about this book that you wrote. Tell us about Lexi the Butterfly.
Well, that is another.
Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have a copy of it because I don't have one yet. They're arriving this week.
You tell us about it. I'm going to try to pull up the artwork on it on my iPad because I can do it on my laptop, but I don't know how to make it come over here.
Okay, this is perfect. So my daughter's now 23. So 24 years ago, my husband and I decided that we were going to adopt. And it was really kind of like another Rhonda moment where we were at an anniversary party for my friend's parents who were celebrating 50 years. And I met this couple that was just randomly placed at our table, and they had adopted a little girl from China. And so on the way home, I said to my husband, is that something you would ever consider? And he said, actually, I would. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, goodness. So I started pursuing what that would look like. And for anybody who's adopted, for us, it took about 18 months worth of paperwork and prayer and kind of scary and, ups and downs and all the things. And it was during the the bird virus, all these things were happening and international travel was shut down. And I thought, we're never going to get to go to China. So one weekend we were camping up at our property. My husband's family's had this property for years and years. And so we were camping. And when the boys went to take a nap, I sat down with this little notebook that was my son's it looks like a science notebook. And I just had this idea. I was like looking around, just kind of taking a deep breath. Everyone was napping. And I saw this hawk, this beautiful hawk up in the pine tree. And then I saw all these little white butterflies. And then there was this little sparrow, and there was a turtle. And then I saw an owl. And we sit at the back of Pikes Peak in Colorado. It's majestic. And there's this beautiful lake and wildflowers. And my imagination just went crazy. And I started writing this story. And really, it was inspired so that I could share this with my boys to be excited about adopting their little sister, who was going to look different than they were. So she became this little purple butterfly with yellow wings because she was going to look different than the little butterflies that were around the meadow where we were. And so I told the story. I wrote it down just real quick, and then I made up the names. All of my kids were different characters. One's a hawk, one's the butterfly, Lexi, the butterfly. So we knew what we were going to name her. And I just started telling the story, and the kids loved it. Just absolutely like, mommy, read it again. And then they wanted to add their things. And we made my husband the wise old owl, and he is the mayor of the snow-capped mountain. And so I wrote this story. And then my one son said, would you read that to my classroom? So I started reading it to the kids' classrooms. And then we actually got our little Lexi, the butterfly, which I believe my dad calls her the cherry on top because she really has been. And so for us, adoption has been just a beautiful thing. And because we adopted, several of our friends, at the time, my MOPS group, several friends there, they also adopted from China, from Africa, from Guatemala. Like it started, I was the only person that we knew who had adopted. And then the next thing you know, all these friends that we know have adopted children as well. So I would read this story at different places. And then, as things happen, your kids get big, and it just became another file in my computer labeled Lexi the butterfly. But that's how it all started, just innocently, just observing the animals around our campsite.
I love it. Okay, I found it. I tried to, as best I could.
Oh, that's the cover, yes.
Where is it? Let me get in the middle of my screen. There. Isn't it just so, I love the artwork. I love it.
Tell you,
it's
Beth,
beautiful.
Thank you.
Delightful. Yes. And who's the artist on there? Beth Snyder.
Mm-hmm. She
amazing.
Is so talented, Rhonda. Like I wrote the story, but she really brought it to life because she's an incredibly gifted illustrator, just amazing. And so
how did you find her?
I had some connections through this writing and speaking group called Creatives with Lisa Whittle and Allie Worthington. And I just put out does anybody know of an illustrator? And someone mentioned her name. They didn't work with her, but had seen something she had done. And then again, as God works, we receive books all the time in the office, where people are like, would you promote this book? And we don't really do that. But I was looking through the children's books that came in, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is illustrator's Beth Snyder. And I looked through her book and I was like, okay, she's amazing. So I reached out to her, and we carried on hours of conversation before, we agreed that she's the person that I wanted to do the illustrations. And so I'm really grateful because she is just beautiful. And she has 3 boys and a little girl like we do.
Mm-hmm. That's so sweet. And what I love about this book is there are so many children being raised by their grandparents. There are so many children being not raised by their parents. I had my own niece live with me for a time. And you even talk in the book about the mom butterfly whose wing was damaged and was no longer able to care for Lexi. And that's a sweet way to describe my sister's situation when she was no longer able to care for my niece. Her wing was damaged. And that's a sweet way to help a child process that experience. So I kind of teared up when I read that, because I wish I would have had this book to read to my niece when she was trying to figure out why her mommy wasn't able to care for her. So when we are looking at this book, I just want to give a few, this is the, I don't know what the word, what's the word I'm looking for? The description of the book. That's the word. Okay. When little Lexi the butterfly becomes separated from her mother during a fierce storm, she finds herself alone and afraid. Welcomed into the caring wings of the hawk family, Lexi discovers that love comes in many forms, and that being chosen can be just as beautiful as being born into a family. This gentle tale celebrates the courage to love, the strength to heal, and the magic of finding where you truly belong. I just love that. And I love the dedication to our precious daughter and my family. God created through his love and perfect timing, Rusty, Justin, Spencer, Taylor, and Lexi. It's just precious. So let's switch gears and talk to the woman, whether she's a mom, because you said you did this wrote this while your kids were sleeping, whether she's a mom with littles, or she's that soccer mom running kids here and there, or maybe she's in the situation like you and I find ourselves, that we are empty nesters and have maybe some time on our hands and a dream we've always wanted. Speak to that mom that maybe has a book, a children's book in her heart, or maybe I didn't write my first nonfiction book until, how old was I? I was like 50 years old when I wrote my first book. I was an empty nester. So speak to that mom, give her some encouragement and inspiration.
Well, that's a big task, but here's what I would say. We all had hopes and dreams before we became moms, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I know for myself, having 4 kids and having a little one that we adopted, and then everybody was in sports and music and all the things. Mm-hmm. So you're running around like a crazy person. But that doesn't mean that I didn't still love to read and write, and always had this dream of being an author, because books meant so much to me from the time I was a little girl. Mm-hmm. So I would say this. I had a friend ask me a couple of weeks ago, she goes, I think I have a story in my heart. Like, what did you do? And I said, just write it down. Mm-hmm. Just, when someone's taking a nap, that's what I did. I wrote it literally with a pencil in a science notebook when my kids were sleeping. That's how it started. And then it took different forms over the years. And even to your point that you pointed out about the mom and the damaged wing, that was a new addition to the story as I started working with a professional editor, and I needed to put some clarity to that situation.
Right.
And I didn't want to go like all Bambi and kill the mom, because we don't know Lexi's real story, because she was in China. We do know that she was abandoned, but we don't know anything else. And so I wanted to say that you might not fully know the whole story, but you can still accept loved, and you can be loved even if your family doesn't. So that's why the difference, like a hawk and a butterfly. Sure. In the first part of the book, you have all these little characters like looking like confused, like can a hawk take care of a butterfly? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure when people first were told that we were doing that, they would be like, can you take care of someone that isn't your family, if they have been adopted? So those dreams evolve over time. But I would make an appointment with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I would just say, what are some of the dreams that I've maybe put on the back burner? What do I have time for? Maybe it's not writing a book. Maybe it's you want to compete in a marathon. Maybe it's you want to, like, whatever it is, you pick it. Maybe you want to write a song. Maybe you want to, do something that you've always dreamed. You want to travel to a certain place and see something. But it's this huge thing that you've set aside, but you haven't really made the time for. We all have limited time, and only God knows how long we get to be here. So don't wait for the perfect moment, because I don't think it's going to come. But have an honest conversation with yourself. make an appointment, make that cup of tea, cup of coffee, sit down and say, if you want to write a story, you can write a story. And, not every story, because I do a lot of writing for the MomCo, not every story I write ends up in our magazine or ends up being published. So if you're doing it because you love it, then what is your goal? So you can write little things. You can write things to just share, write a Christmas letter, write something that you can share with your family, your friends, write a friendship poem to the person that is your best buddy. There's so many ways you can do that, but we stop ourselves and say, well, I'm not a writer.
Right.
I'm not a speaker. I'm not this. I'm not that. You are if you want to be.
Ooh, say that again.
Yeah, you are if you want to be. And there's various levels, but I think we live in a society now that if you're not viral, that if you're not, famous, that it doesn't count. And I don't think that's true.
No. And you're right, because that's what happens is the likes, actually I had Mandy on my show just recently, and Mandy is the CEO of the MomCo, and just coincidentally, your interviews were back to back, but that's cool. But I loved her insights that she was sharing on the show, and it just gave such inspiration to listeners that whatever God has for you, whatever season that you're in, trust him with that season. And one of the things she told a little story, and I loved it, was if you wore an outfit and 24 people that day said, that's really a cute outfit, you'd be like, I'm keeping this outfit. But if you were trying to be an influencer and you put an outfit you put together on your Insta account and one person liked it or two people, you would feel like, oh, I failed. Yeah. And we are living in such a virtual world that we think affirmation is required through those likes and comments. And I'm with you. Let's challenge ourselves to live in the moment. Let's surround ourselves with real people, real friends, real relationships, and encourage each other. And you know what? When I started writing, I have a group of friends. We've been friends since we nursed our babies, and now we're nursing our parents together, taking care of them. But they were my cheerleaders, my encouragers, my prayer warriors. Through all of it, just praying for if God wanted to open this door for me. So every time I get a book contract, they celebrate because it's our contract. It's all of us together. Man, find some real people. And where can we find those real people? At MomCo, right? You want to talk about that?
So MomCo means so much to me because I was a part of it from when it was called MOPS years ago. My oldest son is 33. And he was 3, and my second son, the singer, Spencer, was a newborn. And I was picking my son up from school, and it was a day where he was just having a bad day. He was having a meltdown. The baby was crying. I think I had nursed the baby in the car. I didn't even think I had the flaps up on my bra. I was just like, trying to get back to the car. And this sweet lady that I didn't know, she turns around, she goes, you should come to my MOPS group. And I was like, what is that? And I had just moved to Denver. I had quit my job. I was in medicine at the time. And I was just like, what am I going to do? This is really hard. Maybe not as fun as I thought it was going to be. And she started describing to me that you could have adult conversation and a hot cup of coffee. I didn't even drink coffee, but I was like, okay, I could eat something. That would be great. And then she said, and your kids will go in childcare and for 2 hours. And I was like, okay, what? And that just sounded amazing. And from the first day that I went, there were mentor moms there. And those mentor moms were so impactful in my life because they made it feel like, oh, honey, this is not hard. You're going to get through this. It's okay. I acknowledge that it's difficult, but it's not earth-shattering if your child is having a temper tantrum at Target. Well, then I met girls at the table that they're like, my child does the same thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then before you know it, by the end of like 2-3 sessions, you're like, we are in this thing together. Yeah. So I met these women at my table. And I mean, I'm going to just shout out to Janet, Kristen, Joey, Amy. We became friends that day. We have raised our children together, like you said. We still travel together. Now those kids, I'm hosting another bridal shower here soon and a baby shower. And like we do life together, but it started at this little table.
Yeah.
And because of my job, I oversee all of the MomCo in terms of our leadership development. So I have the coolest job in the world. I get to go everywhere. And this last year, I was in Australia, Africa, then I was in Europe for a month, and then Malaysia.
I followed you. I follow you on social media. I see where you go, girl.
And so while I'm there, I'm talking to moms who, you know what? They're no different than I am. They speak a different language. But I always joke a 2-year-old temper tantrum looks the same no matter what language you're speaking, right? And struggles are very similar. Yes, we have nuances based on our geography or our language or our heritage, but being a mom really translates around the globe.
Yeah.
And when you find community, what we do really well is we help create communities where women can interact with each other. They can grow, learn how to be the best mom. You know, we have a tagline, better moms, better world, but we live that out. It's not just something that looks cute on a t-shirt, like it's the real deal. And not only do you have community, but you get to learn about Jesus.
Yes.
And so for me, you know, we train leaders around the world, and kind of when I said earlier, like, you can be that if you want. So many people will, I'm not a leader. I don't know if I could be a leader. Sure you are. Yes, you can be. So we give people the equipping, and then we teach them how to be better leaders. And they become great moms, and they create communities where people learn about Jesus and they develop deep, deep friendships. And I'm just so thankful to be a part of it. And I used to be the director of women's ministry at a large church in Denver, Mission Hills. And we had an amazing staff with lots of women in our program for MomCo. And then Mandy invited me to coffee one day and said, I would love for you to oversee our global ministry. And so from there, I took on all the leadership and global. And I've been on staff for 8 years. And I do just love what I do every day, because you're watching a difference. You know, when you said these parents are raising kids, well, if you don't know what that looks like or what it could look like, that's hard to try and do this mothering thing alone. Yeah. But if you're doing it in community and you're learning biblical values and truths of how we can treat each other and love each other well, I always say this, we all will leave a legacy. It's up to you what it's going to be.
True.
And I think when we incorporate Jesus into the story, when we learn and accept help from people and create a strong community, our legacy will live on into that next generation. It's really beautiful to see.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And honestly, that's why my podcast, Old Ladies Know Stuff, it's a nod to the Titus 2 woman, to the mentors. I did not know how to be a mom. My mom was 17 when she had me. I was her second child. Love my mom, but we grew up together. We shared our chemin de fer jeans, and you have to be old enough to know the jeans that we shared, and the not jeans, not as in physical jeans, but in Levi jeans.
Yes.
And we just grew up together. And so when I became a mom, I honestly didn't know what to do. And my husband's mother came down with Alzheimer's, and she was a great mom, but I had no resource there. So I looked to older moms that were in our youth group, you know, the parents of our teens, and those kids who wanted to spend time with their parents, wanted to be with their mom, loved their parents. I'm like, I got to know what they know. And I just became friends with them. And so when I was able to become involved with MOPS, which began when I wrote my first book, Moms Raising Sons to Be Men, it came out in 2013. I did my first MOPS tour. I spoke 52 times in 1 year, and most of it was to a MOPS group. It was crazy. But I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so they're everywhere out here.
They're the best audience.
But I saw those tables with those mentor moms who they could be bowling or going to coffee with friends or shopping or whatever. Bowling, that's what my mom did. That's why I say that. I don't think anyone does that anymore. But they invested their lives into their table, into those women, and they shared from their own highs and lows. And that's the value of a good mentor is
Mhm.
I don't want someone who's perfect. I want someone who recovered when they blew it. I want someone whose,
Yeah.
Child started to go sideways and they reached out and got help. They didn't hide it and pretend like everything's okay. I want to have real nitty-gritty conversations with real people that know what I'm walking through as a young mom. And that's what I found at MOPS. I also found it was a great place to share the gospel. And I am an evangelist at heart. And every time I speak at a MOPS, I know someone has invited a woman to come that it was frazzled, that didn't have her flaps up after she nursed a baby while she's at the open house night at school. And they invited her to come to MOPS. And she came because she was desperate for connection. But in that desperation, she found what she really needed was a connection with her creator through Jesus Christ, her savior. So yes, I celebrate every opportunity I get to go speak at MOPS and share the gospel and messages of hope. So is there any final things you want to say before we talk about where we can get the book, Lexi the Butterfly?
I would say this, ladies, you have these inner, maybe even yearnings or desires to do something in the world. You can do that, and you can do it, and you can be a mom at the same time. And my kids are right now my biggest cheerleaders of this book.
Me too.
But they always have been. From the moment I read this little story that I made up in I don't say in my mind, but made up in my heart. They loved it from the beginning because it's about them. And it's their story. See, we get to pour into the kids. And here's what I want you to know. God doesn't make mistakes. He chose you to be the mom to the kids that he gave you. There's no mistakes. This is another commonality that we have. My mom was 16 when she had me. So
those teenage moms, they're awesome.
So I had this desire to want to be mentored.
Yeah.
So I think you can be a mentor. You can learn, be open to receive, like ask questions from those moms. Like if you find someone it's like when you see someone who has a good haircut and you're like, hey, who cut your hair? Right. Well, if you see someone who you go, they have a great relationship with their kiddo. I see these teenagers and they love their parents. Like ask questions like, what did you do? How did you do it? That's what I did. I was just like, I wanted to know how to do this thing better. I wanted to be a good mom. Right. So I believe that you are, be confident that you are because God chose you. So you can be that. But he also made you an individual who has hopes and desires and feelings to do things. Tap into that. I would say this week, make that date with yourself. Figure that out. What do you want it to be? And then do it because you can. And I believe in you. But you have to believe in yourself and always ask God to help guide you because before you know it, he connects you with this lady who's a beautiful illustrator. He allows you and I to stare in each other's eyes and become friends. Like who knows what that means and who you will meet in your life when you're open to what God has in store for you.
I love that. That's so inspiring and encouraging. And I just had another thought for this book, Lexi the Butterfly. I know there's a lot of stepmoms out there. There's a lot of stepmoms that maybe you have custody of your stepchildren and you have your own children and it's a blended family or however that works out. This can be a book that can encourage them, especially if they long to live with their mom. I find it interesting, even when I had my niece, my sister was not in a good position to raise a child. And my niece knew that and had experienced that. And yet she longed for her mama. She wanted to live with her mom, even though it wasn't a safe experience for her. Right. So having this sweet book is a great resource. So where can we get this book?
Well, Lexi the Butterfly will be available at lexithebutterfly.com. And that will be through my website, and I will be able to autograph a copy for you and send it off to you. And those will be like our most vibrant, colorful. You'll get stickers and all the stuff to go with it. You can pre-order the Kindle version and a hard copy on Amazon right now. And then softcover, hardcover, September 9th is the official launch date. So then it will be available on Amazon and then also through my website. So
wonderful.
We're super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm curious. What publisher did you go through? Because I know a lot of women are thinking, I want to write a kid's book, but it's so hard. I have a kid's book I have written, and it is just so hard to get it picked up by a traditional publisher. Even with all the books, nonfiction books that I've written and the platform I have, it's just a very difficult experience to get it picked up.
It is. So I'm working with a hybrid publisher where I'm working on part of it and they're helping me as well. And it's TLC Book Design Publishing. They're amazing.
Okay,
and so they've done a great job. But here's the other thing that I would say. You can make an ebook. You can, I have a friend who's a really amazing organizer. She wrote an ebook and then she put that out on her Facebook. And people just order from her this ebook, and she's helping people organize all over the place. So, it's just, there's lots of ways that you can do it. Don't be discouraged, because guess what? You'll also hear a lot of no's, but if God's telling you yes, he'll the right timing. It'll be
the
his
timing. Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. And again, let's see, the launching date is September 9th, 2025, but you can go to lexithebutterfly.com now and you can get your special copy that's signed with some other brilliant colors and all of those things. You can go to pre-order it on Amazon. And the Kindle and hardcover will publish September 9th. It will also have a hard and soft cover. And let me just tell you, help promote this book, because that's the thing. Most of us are really, if we're creatives, we're not marketers. And so it's like, Lord Jesus, please send us people who will help us get the word out. And that's a wonderful way. Christmas is coming. This comes out in September. Might be a great gift for you to purchase for maybe even someone in your church that has a blended family or has an adoption situation that would just bless them. And remember, parents that are spending all their money to adopt a kid don't have as much money to buy a book as you do. So buy a copy for them.
Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate it. And I would just say one thing. It's not just for people who adopted. It's a belonging story. And I hope that we can also teach our kids that there are kids in their classroom that need to belong to them as a friend group, even if they look different. So I'm just super excited and so grateful to you for the opportunity to talk about the book and about MomCo, two things that I'm super passionate about. So,
and let's just real quick throw out a MomCon. Is MomCon sold out? Is there still tickets available?
There's a few tickets left. We are going to be in Orlando this year, which is super fun. And so I would love for you to join us at MomCon because it's an amazing experience.
Yes, it is.
Amazing.
It is very, to have that many moms, first of all, they're unleashed because they don't have any kids to take care of and they are super happy. It's mom camp. It
is wild and fun and meaningful. You can just go to themom.co/momcon. And I believe there's still a sale right now for tickets. So we would love to have you guys join us. And it's not just if you have littles. So it's if you're a mom. So if you have a mom of adult kids, you'll learn how to be a good mentor and how to parent in that stage. So it's for all moms, and we would love to have you join us.
I love that. All right, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to go.
Perfect.
Father, thank you so much for Sherry, for her story, for her family, for this book, for Lexi that you brought to Sherry through adoption. Lord, I thank you for the conversation we've had. I know that this is going to encourage, inspire, and uplift and even convict some of us as we've listened to it. I pray, God, that your will would be done in each and every one of our lives. And I pray for those that have adoption in their future that they don't even know yet, that you're stirring in them to maybe take in a foster child or a child who needs a family, or maybe it's just to be that neighbor to a kid that's in a rough home life, that you just make your home open to them. You know, Father. I pray that you would use this conversation and this book to just go far and wide for your kingdom and your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you, friend,
so much. And please share this episode. You can watch it on YouTube, but I'll have it on my podcast, Old Ladies Know Stuff. Share it far and wide. Help us get the word out. Thank you so much. You all have a fantastic day.